Okay, the third one is a charm. Hi everybody, it's Juliana and I have a project share today. This is a journal that I finished about a week and a half ago, and it's got a steampunk masculine theme. I thought the two of them would go well together. And I have been really influenced by this one woman on YouTube. Her name is Nicole B, and I'm going to put a link to her channel. But I really love the way she mixes fabrics and trims on her book covers. And so I definitely was influenced by her. So there's a little bit of the steampunk isn't overdone because I'm really not such a steampunk person, but I do have these cute little gears, and if I get it close in, you can see they move. And there's some, but unless they get unhinged, but there they go, they're moving. So let me show you the book. It's got a little book plate, and you can see the name of this boxer. Looks like he's from Victorian times. This fabric down here was given to me. I got a large piece of it, and the measurements are 5 by 7, more or less, a little bit more than 5 inches on the width side, and the spine is 2 inches. And I'm really happy because even though it's chunky, it sits completely flat. And so you can, I do wrap some ribbon around it, but you really don't need that. So the back, you can see better. This is a faux leather that I make, and I did some stitching. I left a lot of strings hanging, as you can see, like down here. It's got that look of the strings hanging. And this is a piece of scrap that was given to me. So save your scraps because they can come in handy. So let's go inside. Okay, so here on the left side, I made a pocket. So, oh, there's something inside here. I used different, here, let me see if you can see that. I used different digital downloads. This is from Ephemera's Vintage Garden called Steampunk Voyage. I used another one of Debbie Ann Parent's from Ephemera's Vintage Garden called Gentlemen's and Scholars. And then I used just a very little bit of Dreams, etc. And it was one of the Steampunk digital downloads. And I used assorted papers. And if you're really like to know which papers I use, please just put the questions in the comments and I'll let you know. So I made tabs out of the faux leather, as you can see. Is it coming in focus? Yay! Came in focus. Okay. So on the first page is a vintage map, and there's a lot of real vintage ephemera in here. I got it this summer when I spent, for example, I got this from my partner's family. We cleaned out the barn this summer and had a tag sale. If you can see this, these are checks from 1939. And I did some collaging. And there's just a lot of writing space in here. I did that on purpose because I feel that often a lot of pages in junk journals can get very over embellished, and I wanted to make sure whoever gets this book will have enough writing space. This is from Ephemera's Vintage Garden. This is from Ephemera's Vintage Garden. I turned it into a tuck. And the cards in here, this is interesting. This is a hospital bed. This is from like 1918 because my partner's grandfather was a doctor And he was also, I think, a doctor during World War I. So I have some of that ephemera. And these are just index cards that I stamped on and put together with a brad. So, and I did a lot of rub-ons with Tim Holtz rub-ons. This is really adorable vintage fabric. I made pockets out of them, and it came out of the barn as well. There was only just a swatch of this left. And this is an old notice from 1952. I hope that's coming in focus. It's nice and spacious in here. And let's see. And it lies nice and flat too, which is great. So here's one of the vintage pieces of ephemera. It says property tag to be worn off and given to patient. And underneath I have this really interesting photograph. I'm a photographer who turned to crafting. Let's see, is that in focus? And this is a picture of a Russian immigrant trying to apply to immigrate to the United States. So this page is a report to the annex to the hospital. This is an original. This is a doctor's daily report, which would have been my partner's grandfather's report that he had written in a hospital. So I have a little tuck spot here. The back of the checks, the map turned into a pocket, and I have this very fascinating, I thought it was very steampunky. I found it on Ephemera's Vintage Garden. I mean, excuse me, on Pinterest. Excuse me. Yeah, so this, I actually looked under steampunk and this came up. I think anything unusual. I'm always fascinated about what really is steampunk. I guess it's different for everyone. So this is the second signature, and again, this is Ephemera's Vintage Garden, except I covered it with one of her collage bits. And it's got a tab here. And this is from a Russian atlas, atlas of anatomy. So this is all in Cyrillic. For you Russian viewers, you can read this, and it's from Soviet Russia, and I bought it in 2015 when I went on I had to photograph in Armenia for a week, which was an incredible trip, and I totally scored because I found a market that sold a lot of books, and I bought some amazing Armenian and Russian books. So this is just a little cute little fold out, something tiny to write in. This is from Ephemera's Vintage Garden from the Steampunk Voyage. And this is it's from one of those paper stores, but I love the bag. And so I decided to recycle it and put it in the journal. And this is this amazing poodle that I thought only a sophisticated gentleman would have a poodle like this. And it's a playing card, and I got a bunch of these off of Etsy a couple years ago. And I just adore them. They're so kitschy and fun. So there's the middle of the signature. Here's another pocket and some fun ephemera, some images, and this. And this is trains from a vintage book that I put in. And this is really cute. This is a Steampunk kitty cat. I found him on Pinterest. And this is from Ephemera's Vintage Garden, and it just slips right under. It does. It slips right under there. Okay. So I made this little pocket tuck. And there's more little journaling cards in here. And I learned how to make these by this woman. I think her name is Patricia. And like Villamontes. But I'll give a link below so you know. She does a lot of tutorials on how to use text pages from books and turn them into pockets and all kinds of things. So yes, this is from the Paper Source. This is just if you want to put a photograph or something in the book. And this is the back. This is the other side of it's the human body, the neck and the head. I really love anatomy. I collect anatomy books, and so I turned that into a back pocket. And inside is this sweet little book, and the paper. This paper is from. This is from. I think it's from. Well, I know it's Ephemera's Vintage Garden, but I think it's from the Steampunk Voyage. So I made copies for the first time on vellum, and I just love the way it looks. And this is just a cute little book within a book. I adore this picture of these beat up. They look like rugby players, but I think it was a fight at Yale or something. I was reading about the image. This is a very handsome, muscular man, I guess. And here are two boxers. So I was going for some male-oriented, rough and tumble stuff. Goes right in there. So this is the third signature, and on the cover is this really wonderful photograph that I scanned and printed. This came out of the barn. And we're really not sure who it is. But I really love the woman in her dress because I believe her knees are showing, which is pretty scandalous, I would say, for that time. I don't know. It looks... I can't tell if it's... I think it must be World War II. So this is just some fun stationery, vintage stationery. A boot, which is supposedly very steampunk. Globe, ledger paper, little glassine box pocket that I coffee dyed. All the pages have been coffee dyed, and I distressed around all the edges. I forget the important stuff sometimes that people want to know. So these are just sweet little pieces of ephemera that you can write on. There's definitely a lot of space to either adhere pictures, or this is tuck spot. I think this is, yeah, here. I have something right here. It goes right under here. This is another great picture of a group during the war. That came out of the barn. This is fabric that came out of the barn, and inside, this is from Dreams, etc. Come into focus, please. Yes. Okay. And more writing pages. This is really sweet. I love this. It's a little envelope, and inside is this very steampunky little journaling card. This here is the end of the signature in another pocket. And then this is really nice paper. And there's some more index cards with stamping with a like coffee colored ink. Pulled out my stamps. I enjoyed that. And what else is in here? Oh, another one. This is from Dreams, Etc. Finally, we're moving on to our last and fourth signature. And this came up in a Steampunk search. He's wearing these funny little roller skatey things. So this is an actual vintage letter from 1945 to my father-in-law, and I kept the letter inside. It's right up here. I actually have a box and a half full of family letters that the family gave to me. If you have seen my videos in the past, you know this past summer we cleared out the barn, and it was the second time we had done that. And so I actually took a lot of amazing books and different papers and things because my partner's father, this is from a chemistry DuPont magazine. This is during the war. This is from the like early 40s. Here's another pocket. So I like to incorporate real vintage ephemera when I can. These are little taggies, very cute. And this is a vintage tag. I hope that comes into focus. This is a collage bit from Ephemera's Vintage Garden. This came out of my stash. I actually bought it. It's an actual real railway tag that's vintage. I couldn't tell you what year though. This is, I love this image of the man on the bicycle. This is another journaling card with a tuck spot. This is the other side of the magazine with these nerds doing chemistry, fighting the war abroad during World War II. Some ledger paper. This is from the 30s. Some more ledger paper. This is the back side of the envelope. I love this airmail stamp. So, and then this is the back pocket to the last signature, and this is actually a real newspaper from 1918. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a guy on a bike, on a four-wheeled low-riding bike, and I scanned the newspaper and turned it into a pocket. Then just some more ephemera. And this is the back, and I use gold washi tape here. This is linen sewed on the side, and this is the back of the book. So this is the book, and I'm planning to open up an Etsy store. I just don't know when. I've been very busy doing many different things, but hopefully I will be selling books like this. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask below. I would love any comments or remarks, and I'd love to hear from you. So thank you for joining me today, and happy crafting. Bye.